lifelong resident here.
Oh,
Used to work for the
And I
school
was gonna
district.
come here kind of naked, so like, my husband
Head of
beautifully like
the public
went into
works
my
type
closet,
thing in the school.
retrieved
Left that
a second
position,
dress.
and he had his own, he worked for Roll Brothers.
I think we were live when you said that, Liz.
His wife has Connie, has the.
Wouldn't be the worst thing I said on a hot mic.
Don't listen to anything he says.
Whoa.
Oh, that's
Not a thing.
He's in your.
Take that personal.
Do everything with that now. He's had some issues and stuff himself.
It's a thing.
Really nice
I
person.
mean, then you save paper, get an opportunity.
I sent it.
Tom
I think
dropped
this
that there
is
for
the
you.
shortest Brandon Ulrich agenda I've ever seen.
Brandon, the envelope that I left on the thing was from Teresa. That was a newsletter from Whispering Hills she wanted you to have.
Okay, thank you. Michelle, are we good? All right. I'm calling the meeting to order. Attendance, please.
Supervisor Holdred,
Here.
Councilmember Andisano,
Here.
Councilmember Becker,
Here.
Councilmember Corday,
Aye, or here.
Councilmember Dyster.
Here. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Somebody signed in first for public comment? You're the first one? Why do you say that? You'll go now.
Hello, Elizabeth Barrett Zahn, 121 Sugarloaf Mountain Road, Chester, New York. I have a couple things to share from the Chester Conservation Advisory Council, events that are coming up. Saturday, April 12th, we're going to be holding our second annual recycling drive at the Chester Town Hall parking lot from 10 to 2. This is sponsored by the Town of Chester, the Conservation Advisory Council, Climate Smart Community, in collaboration with Sustainable Warwick. The CAC members will be on site to answer questions, and we also need volunteers to help out with this event. So if there is anybody in the community that would love to come and help us lift air conditioners, we'd love that. The second item is that on Monday, April 21st, starting at 3 o'clock in the Chester Senior Center, there's going to be a showing of a film called Beauty on the Wing. This is a 1-hour film. It is about monarch butterflies that will take us on a journey to experience the challenge of these fragile yet tenacious beauties as they endure their migration from spring to fall. This is a free event. It is geared for audiences 8 years old and up, including all of those who love butterflies and other pollinators. It is hosted by Eureka Books and More. It's sponsored by the Town of Chester, Conservation Advisory Council, and Monarch City, USA.
What time was that again?
Oh, sorry, that is at 3 o'clock.
3 o'clock. Okay,
Yeah.
Thank you.
It is Monday, April 21st. Yep. And it is, as you may remember, last year we became recognized as a monarch town. And this film is part of that educational component. Additionally, we have given away about 125 milkweed seeds at different events that we've held, and also in my shop that support monarchs and pollinators. So we're trying to push those things forward. On Saturday, April 26th, from 10 to 2, we will hold the second Repair Cafe that will be held at the Chester Senior Center. This is also sponsored by the Town of Chester, Conservation Advisory Council, and the Climate Smart Community. Again, the CAC members will be present. We're also going to have an information table that's set up there to discuss or talk about some of the recent initiatives and involvements that we're involved with, including the Lights Out initiative that Alicia Froscini brought into you at the last town board meeting. So we can talk more about that, just kind of educating people about that. Additionally, later this week, the beautiful purple Martin House is going to be erected at Knapp's View. There will be several members of the Conservation Advisory Council will be present to help set that up. And we're going to set up a date to have like a grand opening at some point later on, once we have it all set up.
I'd like to be there to help put it in, so
Awesome.
Know.
I'm meeting with Susanna tomorrow at 11:15, I think, to just put the polls together and kind of arrange it all to make sure that we understand how it works. So
Okay.
then we'll work from there, but we'll let you know for
Let me know.
sure. And finally, I'm here to request a road closure for the Sugarloaf 5K that is set for October 4th, 2025. We're going to start it at 8:30, so we're saying 8 o'clock to 10:30, closing the roads. And I wanted you to know that the money that is raised in that 5K this year and last year goes towards infrastructure improvements in Sugarloaf. Things like benches, lighting, gardens, or any other complementary improvements. So far, we have raised $2,000. We expect to raise more this year. And those improvements will then be determined once the sidewalks are in, what those placements or what things would look like. So that's it. I do have a couple things I could just hand to you. And Linda, I can email these to you if you don't have them, but you probably already do.
Yes.
So I have the coolest recycling, the Beauty on the Wing, which I know Michelle has been putting out, and then the Repair Cafe.
Beauty on the Wing, I don't think I have.
Okay. I definitely send it to you, and I have it in different forms. So I have the colorful one, and I have a black and white too, so it's a little easier. Yep.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Liz. Who's next? Come on up.
My name is Jeff Zahn. I'm speaking about the Sugarloaf Performing Arts Center. I'm speaking as a private resident. My goal is just to bring you up to date on some thoughts and some considerations for you guys to consider because I know you're so busy. You know my bona fides. I'm currently now in the producing team of a Broadway show called Annie that's coming back in 2027. So that's a big honor for me. So I'm kind of in the loop. Just a quick outline. I'll be as brief as I can. 3 metrics for success of a PAC. Is it busy? Is it having lots of events during the week? It's not. Financially, is it viable? Does it come close to paying for itself with a robust endowment? Ours is not. Does it serve the community with diverse programming, especially for kids, not just tribute bands? Ours is not. Richard had a very successful formula where the main theater broke even or did okay, but his pavilion was always doing kids events, education, classes, and that seems to be the formula for success. I called up Kevin Kern. He goes, yes, yes, yes. Kids events, classes, tributes, events, anything there would really, really help. So for losing money, option number 1, we have an interested buyer, the county. Quickly, the advantages, they have money. You guys know this already. They always wanted the facility. They can bring in many more events, supposedly making the town busier. They can get the building and the salaries off the town's ledger, no repair or upkeep expenses, and they might have money to invest in a needed kitchen, lighting, signage, parking lot, new equipment. Disadvantages, they have no experience whatsoever in running a PAC. They don't know how to do it. Do we care if we make the sale? They're going to have to bring in people. It costs money. And if they're losing money after a couple of years for us residents, okay. Second thing is elections can change outcomes. We know that Mr. Newhouse is running. Elections change, especially in today's climate. We are concerned about that. Sometimes the county does wonderful big things like Sugarloaf Mountain was purchased, but we have a zombie building in Sugarloaf for years now called Scotts Meadow. There's LaGuardia, Camp LaGuardia. So there is some concern among residents, about me, about them keeping their word. So there's a legit fear about so many dark days. It's a community hub where we celebrate, host festivals, town halls, community events. Steve said he's open to discussing it. So it wasn't exactly a strong endorsement for me. It's our jewel. It gives us a place to celebrate, to mourn, to come together. It lost about $180,000, $200,000, which is roughly 1.2%. There was a referendum for it. Lastly, I was told by somebody that the Sugarloaf Performing Arts Center and the Senior Center are joined under one financial instrument, like a bond. And if one entity of that is sold, it might require a renegotiation of the whole thing, leading to other unfavorable results, I think. This is what I was told. So one solution, I have an entertainment lawyer. He suggested a vehicle called a lease to purchase, which is a win-win. A lease to purchase, and you guys lawyers will know, you set a purchase price, but the county has to achieve certain marks to prove that it's not dark. 20 dates 1 year, 30 dates the next year, 40 dates, community involvement, somebody on the board to help make decisions to protect our community. So it's a lease to purchase, and that seems to be a win-win. If the county sells the building, we should get the right of first refusal. And I was told also, Steve said, going with us, we'll protect it so its future is always protected. And I was told that we can do an Orange County Land Trust, some kind of PDR to protect it too. With few constraints, that's the easiest path. It's not the only path. Second option for me, which is the best, is the overwhelming vast majority of smaller PACs, smaller ones, are run by nonprofits. There's a huge advantage because they can raise money through grants, through galas, through seats, through namings and all that. Everybody seems to do that. Look around, they're run by nonprofits. It can't be a small, inexperienced nonprofit. It's got to be somebody with assets. They will pay for repairs. They can build an endowment. It's a way to go forward, and the town still owns it, and the asset appreciates it. How do you do it? It's an RFP that you send out that articulates the vision, the goals, and the parameters. The negative, if the county says you're putting out an RFP, they might not be happy and might rescind on that. It takes some time to do it and some effort. I heard from other people that our theater is a difficult sell because 689 seats. It's not true. If you're a baseball fan, there are small market teams that are very successful, Kansas City, Milwaukee, Cleveland, but it takes special addressing with programming and creative marketing. So nonprofits are by far the most common. Finishing up, the last third way is a white whale. A white whale is somebody like Peter Buffett, Warren Buffett's kid, runs the Ulster County Performing Arts Center. He's got lots of money, no problem. You know Alan Geary runs Bethel, deep, deep pockets. Last option for me is stay the course. There is some discrepancy with the financial numbers. There is some discrepancy with the HVAC systems. I had a lovely talk with Richard, who said those numbers that Steve proffered weren't exactly accurate. There are ways to deal with the water that can be done with 250 feet of 4-inch pipe, and it should be looked at. I spoke to somebody that said when this PAC was purchased, there was a plan to pay for it. The plan was Knapp's View was going to end, and some of that payment, and we changed, elections changed things, was going to go toward financing that. But things changed. But I heard there was a plan in place, so it wasn't just chaotic to do this thing. So there are multiple steps if the town wanted to keep it, but that doesn't seem like the right paradigm. It only makes sense if we bring in a nonprofit. Bottom line, the easiest way is not always the best way. You don't have to listen to me or the county or anybody else, but I really implore you to get expert advice from attorneys, from entertainment people that really know what they're doing. They can give you great advice. It's a really special place, and it plays such an important role for me, Sugarloaf, and Chester, that I don't think it's getting the due notoriety and inspection that it should. So I hope you guys take that.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. Did you want to clarify something?
The bonds are not attached.
Do you want to?
So
That doesn't matter.
the two bonds are not, if we sell one, we don't have to redo the whole bond. Okay.
One of the councilmen told me that was a problem, so don't go.
Okay, thanks for clarification. Thank you, Jeff. It's appreciated. Are there any other public comment in person at the moment? Is there anything online? All right, then we will move on. Is there a resolution? Are there any comments or debate points on the minutes?
Nope.
From 326.
Nope.
Seeing none, is there a motion to accept the minutes?
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The minutes are accepted. We will head into reports. I'm going to start some of the things on the paper here. We received the March report for Empress, our ambulance. We have a response rate of about 95.7% this month in terms of the Empress vehicles going out to the calls. All this can be found online. We have total all units response time of 7 minutes and 45 seconds. With the additional Empress units, it's 15 minutes and 26 seconds. The dedicated Chester unit is 7 minutes and 22 seconds. So again, some pretty good average response times there. Again, some of the other more specified information can be found online. I saw that somebody already posted it to one of the Facebook groups. The additional units that were needed, for 5 of the calls, one of them just required an ALS supervisor. So an additional unit had to come onto the scene later. And then the other 4 were just because the ambulance was out on a call already. So the other 4 were second calls that another unit had to come and fill in. Besides that, levels of service, 35% for advanced life support and 66% for basic life support. And that is the report from Empress. The historian has always a lengthy report that goes into all of the various things that he does, various workshops and classes, working on collaborative projects with Chester Academy, help working with the Village of Chester on a new village flag, and various other projects and activities that he's doing. So thank you to Cliff, as always, for all the things that you do as a historian. If anybody is interested, they can read the full report online. From there, we have the animal control reports. During the month of March, the town of Chester Police Department responded to 7 complaints and investigated 2 motor vehicle crashes involving deer. The breakdown is below. All the calls for service were for loose, lost, or found dogs. So very little in the month of March. Thank you to the police department, as always. Tom, do you want to give the Mudna report? Or do you want me to?
You can.
Okay.
I don't have a copy of it.
Okay. So for March, from Mudna, various activities happened throughout the town here. There was a sewer line dug in Walton Lake Estates for a repaired broken pipe, replaced pump and replumbed the PS at 1392 Kings Highway, pulled a bad pump from Lake Region, rebuilt the spool on the booster pump at 3A, checked on a problem with the library, did a hydro dig with the town water department, dug up inlet on tank at police department and installed a riser, installed a new plumbing to make samples at the billboard, fixed the flow issue at the candle shop in Sugarloaf, helped set up bypass at 3A, had 3 10-inch plug valves installed at 3A, jet line in Surrey from PS to Bridle, cleaned up around PS in Surrey, 1390 Kings Highway installed a new panel, pump, and plumbing, various other activities. There was emergency calls at 2 locations, routine monthly maintenance all across all of town of Chester, and then a couple tanks were cleaned throughout the town of Chester. From the water department, the water department processed and distributed 6,995,777 gallons of water for the month of March. The district's daily average ranged from 225 gallons to 100,000 gallons. The monthly breakdown is below, and they were all over the place in terms of maintenance, repair jobs, and annual routine checkups throughout the town. All information can be found in the report online. From the police department, there were 243 calls for service. Officers drove 16,597 miles during the month of March. There were 10 arrests, 1 charged with assaults in the 3rd degree and harassment in the 2nd degree. 9 charged with operating a motor vehicle with a suspended registration or suspended driver's license. Non-criminal activity, there were 28 medical calls, 16 residential, commercial, and automatic fire alarms, 14 reports of suspicious persons, vehicles, or domestic disputes, family court matters, and other disputes, 2 motor vehicle crashes with injuries, 7 motor vehicle crashes without injuries, 2 motor vehicle crashes involving deer. There were 1,172 business security checks in the month of March, various trainings by some of the officers, and some much more information that can be found in the rest of the report. So please visit the website. Thank you to the police department. From the building department, There were 25 new building permits, 33 closed building permits. We are now down to 142 open building permits, 2023 and prior, 238 from 2024 and 67 from 2025. There were 52 inspections, 4 complaints, 6 municipal searches. Some of the ongoing cases involve Camp Monroe, 17 Speranza, which is coming to a close, and 19 Cardinal, which is also coming to a close. All 3 of those are coming to a close, hopefully soon. And yeah, that was that. We have an upcoming event at the library. Congressman Ryan, his CARES van will be, stands for Constituents Advocacy Resources Empowerment Services. Basically, it's a mobile office hours. You can go to his CARES van, speak to his staff about plenty of different things that have to do with the federal government, including federal agencies and benefits like Social Security, VA benefits, federal grant funding, passports, immigration services, the IRS, and more. This is happening on the 24th of April, which is Thursday, from 2 to 4 p.m. And that's, again, at the Chester Public Library. Besides that, we have a report here from the comptroller. If the comptroller would like to step up and share his experience at the Government Finance Officers Association conference that happened last week. Thank you to the comptroller for staying late today.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, gentlemen, for sending me to training, the annual conference of the Government Finance Officers Association last week. It was very enlightening in a number of different ways. It's great to be with other finance professionals talking about how basically they're running their government and doing what they do. A number of concerning things came out of the conference. If I were to put a theme on it, it was uncertainty. All the way around, related to the economy, related to budgets, related to pretty much everything. So one of the things that they spoke about was ARPA, American Rescue Plan money. The town has gotten American Rescue Plan money. The federal government has been clawing back on a lot of this. So basically, of all the municipalities that received ARPA funding, roughly 10% of them, not us, but 10% of them have not done their annual filings. They have received notice from the federal government that money needs to now be returned. So basically, performing your filings is very important. We have done all our filings. We are current on all that. However, obviously, as you know, we have allocated all our money and are currently in the finalization of spending it. However, what that means is we have to continue to do our filings. All right. They have made us very aware that even if you've spent all your money and you've completed your filings, right, and you're caught up, you have to continue doing them for the next 2 years. Otherwise, they can actually ask for the money back. There is also an end, right? So that they haven't announced any closing procedures yet. When they announce those, my feeling is those were going to be very onerous on local municipalities. At least that's sort of the gist that I was getting from up there. And again, remember, this is all secondhand, and we're hearing this, for the first time. We don't know what a lot of this is going to bring, but we have to make sure that we're prepared. So I've made sure that we've pulled all the supporting documentation. We're keeping it in a separate file, and that we will be prepared once that time comes.
Neil, excuse me, did they give any reason for the ARPA money to keep, if we're done, if we've allocated all our money, why we'd have to file for another 2 years, the same paperwork?
They have not said that. All they have said is you have to continue filing. I think that basically they're putting What it sounds like to me is the federal government wants the money back, and they're trying to do whatever they can to get the money back. And so a lack of filing is a lack of compliance, which means that if you're not in compliance, they can ask for the money
Well, I
back.
can answer
Whatever
that.
you do that is not in compliance,
I can answer that question. Go after the 10% that haven't spent the money.
some of them have spent the money, they just haven't done their filings.
Well,
Again, they're out of compliance.
Well, that's, I mean, the ones that I just don't understand. It seems like we're just going to push papers for 2 more years for no apparent reason. I mean,
This is-
that's above me and you. I know
this
that.
is
but-
this is the just again this is what we were talking about, because we were all in the same boat. We all said the same thing. If we've already done our final filing, we spent all our money, why do we need to continue filing? This is the instructions that we're getting from the state
So-
and the federal government.
So what would the filing be? If
It's
we
just our
already-
online
if we
filing.
You spent all of our money.
Yeah.
So what's that filing report?
just
reconfirm
just
it.
that no further spending. We
Okay.
spent all the money.
Reconfirm whatever you did.
Reconfirm
Yeah.
what we've already done. Yes. That's essentially what it comes down to. The other thing that was very disturbing that came out of this, and this is going to be the first time a lot of you have heard about this. So right now, when the town issues bonds, we issue tax exempt bonds. That's every municipality all throughout New York and other ones. There's series, double E, triple E, whatever, tax exempt bonds. The federal government is currently discussing eliminating that tax exemption. So basically what that would mean for a local municipality would mean roughly anywhere between 1.5% to 2% more in interest that you would spend. So on a 30-year $10 million bond, that could amount to an extra $1.5 million for your taxpayers to $2 million to taxpayers in interest. However, one of the more concerning aspects of this is if they do decide to take away the tax exemption, there may not be a market for your bonds. And that could be really distressing for local municipalities, especially municipalities that are doing large scale, infrastructure projects that you need to bond, or you want to buy property that you want to bond for. There may just not be a market to issue those bonds on. Now, again, this is what they're telling everybody to be prepared for. It doesn't necessarily mean it's going to happen, and there are different viewpoints on it. I just want to make you aware of it. We currently have a ban that's outstanding that we need to renew in November. I've been in touch with Munistat to put in place contingency plans just in case. So we need to make sure that
So
we're
that'll even
covered.
affect things that we already have in place and have to renew.
I don't know. Again, we don't know
We don't know.
again, this is the uncertainty. There's a lot of uncertainty in the marketplace. I just want to make everybody aware, because that could limit your ability, right? I mean, municipalities raise money in certain ways.
So if
Right,
you
we
can't
raise-
bond, that's going to force you into taking out loans at higher interest rates.
Either
potentially.
potentially taking, again, is there
If
going to be
it's
a
a
market
loan.
for a taxable loan? Who buys municipal bonds? You have more seniors, you have more people. It's not, they're not really going into public sector.
Maybe
know?
Neil, because I know, we're right around the corner to budget season, and I know this is all what ifs, but maybe you should do an analysis of what we could be potentially be exposed to,
That's
our
that.
exposure to it.
That's what we're gonna get. Yeah, when I get to the end, we'll talk about that a little bit. But yeah, so the tax exempt bonding could be an issue, especially when you talk about how to raise funds, right? I mean, you raise funds basically either property taxes, sales taxes, and through bonding. If you eliminate one of those, then it falls on your residents. So a number of municipalities, are taking heed of that at the moment. That falls into the next thing, the budget. New York State budget is currently being prepared. It's right around the corner. The guest speaker that was at the conference was Comptroller DiNapoli, and he spoke about this New York State budget. The New York State budget, roughly 40% of the New York State budget, again, these are approximate numbers, is from the federal government. All right. The federal government has been looking to make drastic cuts to state funding. The New York State is planning on moving forward with preparing a normal budget. All right. There's a continuing resolution that was passed by to keep the federal government open and through September. If in September they come to a budget or beforehand and those cuts come through in any form or another, New York State will be reevaluating its budget. So monies that you're promised today may not be around at the end of the year. Grants that may be available today may not be available tomorrow. A lot of municipalities that I talk to, especially larger ones, who have year grants like that cross over multiple years for large infrastructure projects, are looking to put some of those projects on hold until they can get more certainty as to whether they're going to get the money, because there's a chance that they're moving forward with a project and they may not actually get the grant at the end of the day.
How will the timeline be from what the federal government does, how the state reacts to
Nobody knows.
what
Again,
we're
so-
going to do?
We don't have answers.
I can actually speak to this. I spoke to Senator Skoufis over the weekend about all these comments from the comptroller. The senator outlined that if the federal government decides to do the worst, they would reconvene in September to redo the budget, the state budget. I did ask him about our most recent grant, the sidewalks grant. He assured me that should not and cannot be affected by what's going on with the federal government.
States grant also.
I'm sorry.
They want like a states grant also.
Yeah, those are way
Planning on
too.
using that, so.
Those are far. Those are too far in play to
Okay.
be affected. As long as we get everything done on time with it. Yeah, we need to make sure we spend it. But yeah, we should be fine with those two. Please continue.
As a side note to all of this, and this really doesn't impact us, but just so everybody understands the discussions that are happening in Washington, not only are they looking to they're discussing removing the tax exemption on municipal bonds, they are also looking to remove the tax exemption for 501c3s. That has
believe
been
that
that
was
is
clear.
currently being discussed at the moment. I know somebody from the associations of towns who have been on those phone calls, along with the bonding issue, and they are lobbying Washington this week. From what I understand, they have gone down to Washington this week to lobby against it. So these things are real. These discussions are real. We just all have to be prepared for sort of what may come of this at the end of the day. So that was the budget thing. The other things that came out of it was, outsourced AP, which will hopefully streamline our payables process, where we can do a little bit more. It would create more secure payments and actually eliminate most of our checks that we have to issue. So I'm going to be investigating that and looking into that. That would be through our bank, Webster Bank. So I'm currently in
That's something
discussions with them.
available to us now, or we're just not utilizing, or something that's coming about.
It's something that recently happened,
Okay.
where the state approved it on bid, and so they want to move everything more online.
Yeah,
So
to
this is
simplify-
sort
to
of that
simplify
part of that
things for you.
process. So it literally just happened within the last year. I just heard about it last week. So now I have to do some investigating to see how we can put something like this in place. So my feeling is I probably won't be able to really tackle this until May.
Yeah.
But I've gotten some initial, documents related to that. So I'll be doing some reading on that stuff over the next few weeks. And then, so the other thing the federal government did was they passed a law changing how municipalities do their financial reporting and provide financial information. They want it free to the public, but they also want it very similar to how SEC companies do it. So, through Edgar. So they sort of want a similar process. This is going to end up being an unfunded mandate to local municipalities. Right now, you have the GASB and you have the GFOA and you have a bunch of other agencies working on guidance on how this is going to be rolled out. We're still about 2 years away as they're still in the comment period. But just understand that this will likely be an unfunded mandate where we'll have to pay so that people have access to our financial data in the same way other SEC companies have the data. It really comes down to they don't know what we do, they don't know how we do it, and so they're trying to make us more like a publicly traded company, which we are not. So
They want all of our information out there for anybody to view. And
it's not just out there; it's just they want it a certain way. They want it formatted in a certain way, and that becomes problematic because we aren't a publicly traded company. So our formatting is different. Like for government, we do things differently. We operate differently. We have different things that go on in our business. So, our disclosures are different. The way we have to present our financial information is different.
it's not
But
like
now,
somebody come in and look at a budget, they want everything out there.
so now they want everything to conform and sort of look the same. But the problem is it's very difficult to do that. So I will kind of update you guys as that goes along. I just kind of wanted to give you a heads up that that's coming and it would likely result in some type
So you
of
think
expense
that
for the
will
town.
take place?
That's it's already law.
Okay.
It's already law.
So it has to take place.
So it
It's
has
just a
to take
process they had
place.
go
It's
through.
just they're allowing, the GASB and the GFOA and other bunch of agencies
working
to formulate the guidelines of how it's going to
So
look.
they're working on this potentially for us so that they can make money from
No,
us.
they're not making it has nothing. Listen, they're doing it to make it easy for us,
Okay.
right? And so that we have a smoother rollout and that there's uniform guidance. The problem is this isn't just Chester. This is every municipality throughout the United
So where does
States.
the cost
Yeah.
come in?
Right.
for us?
The cost comes in and you have to pay for the service to provide so that people can access the financials online, like
So whatever that service happens to be.
whatever that service that happens to be, right?
Would that replace some service or this would be in addition?
This is addition. That's why it's an unfunded mandate. Yeah. So that's being looked into. At the end of the day, I think what all this sort of means is that, we have to, you as a board and with me and the accounting department, we just kind of need to, start looking at the finances of the town and figuring out, as you said, as Bob said, just kind of thinking about what to do next if some of these things occur. So that's why I wanted to make you aware of it. I wanted to kind of share this information with you guys, understand how this is going to be impactful to us in the future. And again, this is all uncertain. These things are not written in stone yet, but, start lobbying, start talking to your representatives, start, make the public aware of some of the things that are happening because it's not
No,
just,
Well,
this
will
is
they
gonna-
also do this in steps like they do certain things? Like with water, they'll go through cities, it's just everybody across the, because usually you can follow what a city does.
Yep.
Or something like that. They've set the guideline on how to do it.
this
We're being stuck with something,
will
everybody
be,
at the same time.
right. This will be like your GASB 84 that we did. This will be like some of the other things, GASB 75, where they just roll out new pronouncements and they just say, this is the way you have to do from now on. This is how it has to look. So it is what it is.
Thank you very
with the
much.
financial reporting, but the other stuff, we have to.
Well, thank you for keeping us informed and hopefully it all
Thanks for the
goes
report.
smoothly for us.
Any questions?
Yeah, I would just another comment. I would think sooner than later, if you can get us what the potential exposure could be based on this information.
Yeah, I'm not sure I'm going to even know that at the end of the day, to be honest with you.
Well, even if we had a
things come out,
ballpark, because we needed
You
to
know.
start adjusting now to the worst case scenario.
I think
now.
what we need to do is start thinking about the departments we have and start thinking about everything and just
Well, that's
start.
I guess that's
yeah.
my point, because if if we have to adjust going into next year, we got to start that now,
Yes.
not in October
It's
like
gonna
we've
be-
always
it's all
done.
gonna
when
be
it-
bu- during
before
budget
summer.
time.
So
There's nothing we can do now.
listen, you guys are the board, so you guys give me direction as to the things that you want me to look at, the areas you want me to look at.
Maybe we can discuss that during a
Potential.
work
I
session.
think it's
Whatever.
all going to be during our budget process. The thought process has to be all of this incorporated with
Right.
what we're going to do with our budget.
And it also may be before the budget too. You know, we may have to take steps before we go through the budgetary process. So
If
that's,
it's going to be if you're forced to.
if we're forced to
that.
do something,
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. So we need to
Right.
start,
But we have to
thinking-
deal with that as it comes. We're not
Yes.
going to, we can't even anticipate that because we don't know.
I don't think you do either.
Nope.
At this
No.
point, yeah.
So
Yeah,
until
I mean,
until they
the-
bring
right.
it to us, we have to deal with it as it comes in and roll with whatever we got.
but I think having some type of a plan in place, you know, sort of looking at where we might have discretionary income, you know, or where we have, you know, non-fixed, you know, variable expenses.
But we're,
to know that we
but
can
we're,
cut.
but again,
That's what I'm
right now,
talking
we're set with a budget and we can't make changes to increase our budget or decrease it, other than cutting things that we do within the
You can,
budget.
you can certainly always make changes to how you spend your money.
You know, but we have a set amount of money right now.
Yeah.
We can't change that set amount. So we have to work within that.
Yeah.
And we have to watch what we cut and
Right.
look at things where we could or could not.
Yes.
Challenging.
Yes.
Yep.
Very much so.
I don't think we're going to send you any more classes. You don't come back with any good news.
Listen, I would love to go to a class where I get good news. This one was not. This was not a good.
But again, it's also something that could be. It's not necessarily.
You know, and I always tell people, you know, market's best friend is certainty. You know, when you know, an accountant's best friend is certainty. When you have uncertainty, that creates a lot of issues for both the markets and for your accountants.
Well, let's expect
Yeah.
expect the worst and pray for the best.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Neil.
Thank you, Mr. Comptroller. If anybody was wondering why I was so silent during this discussion, is because I received all this information over the weekend, which allowed me to have my existential crisis about it over the weekend, pacing back and forth throughout my apartment. So,
That's why the emails were quiet over the weekend.
yeah. All right. Moving on. Revenue and consumption report from the water districts. Walton Lake Estates consumption. I'm sorry. The revenue was $45,935.50. Consumption was right under 5 million. Surrey Meadows was $38,376. Consumption was right under 6 million. Lake Hill Farms was $72,881.25. Consumption was at 12,675 gallons, 675,000 gallons. Sugarloaf was at $29,557. Consumption was a little over 5 million. And Fieldcrest was at $10,010. The consumption was exactly 1,001,000.
I think, Brandon, for future reports, it'd be nice to see what the expenses were as well, to compare with the revenue.
Well, this is done by my office, Larry.
Yeah.
And the expenses are part of the finance department.
No, I understand. No, I do understand that. Now, I'm not being critical of it. It'd be nice to help put it in perspective. Where we have X amount of revenue coming in. It'd be nice to compare that to what the expenses were. So are we, above water or below water, on it? That's all.
Well, the other thing right now is this goes over year end. It's October through March.
Yeah.
So, our budget would be January, so we
Yeah.
wouldn't be able to.
It doesn't-
show-
It doesn't go
I understand.
coincide.
I'm just saying it would be nice to be able to compare that. I understand the
Yeah,
difficulties.
Maybe as we change the billing periods, we can start to look.
Yeah,
at
okay.
that. Yep.
And usually your winter months are your lower income months too with water.
Yeah.
Your summertime will be much higher in the fall.
Moving forward, my personal reports, the bid docs for the sidewalks came in this morning. So everybody should have received that on the town board here. We'll definitely have something to discuss for the next 2 weeks and see about presenting them to the public at the next meeting and, hopefully decide on something. I wanted to welcome Darkstone Comics, who moved in next to Chester Ice Cream and Tina's Pizza in the village. Having a comic store is pretty cool, I think. I went and said hi to them. Their grand opening is later on. They don't have it planned yet. I attended a playground meeting with a couple of the people who had just recently resigned from the Parks Advisory Board and are now starting the nonprofit, which they are going to seek to work with us on fundraising for the, well, they're going to fundraise for the thing, and then we're going to work with them on it. Attended a meeting with Deputy Supervisor Becker on an ambulance. We had talked about possibly purchasing our own in the past. So we were talking about, we had reviewed an ambulance that a vendor was showing us. I'll save that one for later. Attended various constituent meetings. Attended Ocean Vineyards. They hired a new chef who is local to Chester, and they came out with a new menu. So that was pretty cool. I want to congratulate the Chester PBA on what seemed like a successful Easter egg hunt event. I wasn't able to make it. I was away, but yeah, it seemed like it went very well. I saw that some of the people up here went, so I hope everybody had a good time. And then finally, I attended yesterday with Deputy Supervisor Becker and the Highway Superintendent, John Riley, a meeting on the 17M bridge, along with our counterparts in the village, Deputy Mayor Riley and Trustee Laspina. The planning for the bridge is underway. They plan to go out to bid in 2026, and they plan to be done with construction in 2027, in the fall of 2027, or the early winter of 2027. So it's on schedule as of right now. We went over the intricacies of the plan, details and such, things to look out for. Deputy Supervisor Becker provided a lot of history and information to the DOT, so hopefully they take it all into account. But yeah, I was happy to, be able to get them out here and talk to all the local people in the town and the village about what the plans are. It seems to be going well so far. So
hopefully they can keep on track. And they said that they would also keep us informed on their process as they move forward.
Right. And I think we also spoke about the possibility of a open house to happen.
Yeah. Once they get to the point of putting out the bid and getting a bid person, because they can have the contractor come in also to give us updates on how they plan to do the work.
So, as the public may know, I'm a big proponent of transparency. So I push for, we push for an open house with the 17M bridge. So we're going to try to plan that in the future with the DOT. We also are pushing for an open house where we actually already have the open house planned for the
Future from 86.
Yes, Route 17 into I-86, the project for the Route 17 highway. And that includes the intersection at Kings Highway, 17M, and Lehigh Avenue. That open house is planned for May 6th from 6 to 8 p.m., Michelle, at the Senior Center. That's May 6th, 6 to 8 p.m. at the Senior Center for the Route 17 project and the intersection at Kings Highway, Lehigh Avenue, and 17M. That's the intersection right before the 17M bridge. And then the third open house that I'm planning now is with the Parks Department at the Orange County regarding the plan for Sugarloaf Mountain. We had some complaints come in about some tree cutting over by Restdale Road. A couple of the members of the Conservation Advisory Council and I worked to advocate on the behalf of the residents over there to the county about the way they went about cutting down the trees. The county did take accountability for it and realized that more communication can go a long way. So I asked them to agree to an open house, which they agreed to try to plan with me for in the coming months. So they had said that they are planning a very small parking lot there on Restdale Road. They're also planning other trailheads and parking lots all around the mountain in various other locations, but they don't have an actual plan together yet. So I'm going to give them time to get a plan together. a draft of a plan together, and then we can get hopefully them out here to the senior center for an open house where the public can give feedback as to what would work and what doesn't work, and hopefully the county will take it into consideration before they put anything etched into stone for the mountain. So those are the 3 open houses that I'm working on. Besides that, those are all my reports. Let's start with Councilman Dysinger.
Okay. First, today I distributed to the town board members a draft of a tree preservation local law. Been working on that for a while. It's based on equivalent local laws in Monroe, Cornwall, Newburgh, and a few others. I have gotten input already from the CAC on it, and I've incorporated a bunch of those changes. And I've talked to other people as well. So we're at a point now we need to review it. It's important for us to pass this to protect our town, protect our trees, because right now a property owner can go in and clear cut their property if they want. There's no law against it, and that's a problem. So it's important that we do that, and our supervisors already acknowledged that, and we'll start working on that. So, as far as the planning board, 5 candidates were interviewed by the planning board last week, and I believe they may have 1 or 2 more people to interview. They have made a recommendation to the town board to appoint at least 1 person, and it's on the agenda today, item number 14. I think he's going to be a good person for the planning board. Right now, based on all the interviews that were done last week, there was no discussion on the proposed checklist, and that will be taking place on the next month's meeting. That's all I have at this point.
Thank you, Larry.
Councilman Dyser, I would just, you and I may want to chat. We might incorporate that tree preservation as a chapter, a section of the zoning code, so that we can accomplish that all at once.
Okay.
It might be appropriate to put it there. So I'll take a look at it.
If you need anything from me, just let me know.
Okay, thank you.
Do you have a copy of it?
Good work, Larry.
Do you have a copy of that you sent out today?
Deputy Supervisor, please.
Okay, thank you. Currently, our highway department is using mapping provided by our engineer to mark out all storm sewer drains throughout the town to bring us in compliance with our MS4 requirements. So I'm thankful for them for the work they're doing. At Wall Lake Estates, we are still waiting on a final draft for plans from the manufacturer on the control panel and pump skid for a submittal for the review of the Orange County Health Department. And hopefully in the near future, the board will be doing a vote for this project to use some of the grant money we have for that for the district. I also attended a Moodna Basin Commission meeting last night with Councilman Courtney. One of the issues facing the town and village is upgrading the existing pump station on West Street to accommodate the projected increases of flows from the Greens at Chester. The village will be seeking payment for any increases of cost associated with the increase because it is a village pump station and they currently cover the electric and other repairs. They will also be looking at other areas in the village that they are currently covering the electric cost at their pump stations to handle the sewer effluent from other districts within the town. So that's something they've been discussing for many years, and now something that's coming to fruition. They're trying to get coverage for what they've been paying for many years, because the sewer capacity from Surrey Meadows, Sugarloaf, Fieldcrest all go through Village of Chester pump stations, and they cover all the cost for those pump stations and not the town. So that's something that's up and coming. It's something we'll be talking about budget time, and I think Liz and Brian Nugent will be discussing something like that in the future as how that's going to take place. Also, we've been receiving monthly reports from the county, a discussion with Brian Smith. he had looked into doing some additional testing to confirm test results that they are currently doing themselves. But he says per the cost of those testings, he's just going to continue to do the testing and forward our results to the county to confirm that we are not a cause of any of the smell issues down at Airplane Park. So basically, it's up to us basically to disregard the county letters that are coming. We're getting them monthly. There's nothing we can do about it. They can continue to send us letters. They're just not accepting our test results.
And
As-
Brian, just not to piggyback on Tom,
Yeah.
and Brian had mentioned to them to go to a certain spot to test, and they
Yeah.
just refuse. So it's just,
There is a spot that they could test to confirm that there's
not us.
nothing from the town of Chester going. None of the fumes are coming from the town of Chester effluent, but the county refuses to test at those locations.
Is there a reason why the county?
No, they have their set places now. This is a place that they previously tested. The road became inaccessible, so Muda Basin went in and repaired the road to make it accessible. So they're taking the testing there. And this is an area prior to getting to Airplane Park. So we're confirming that the issue is not our issue, but the county's not accepting that at this point. So we're getting them letters, there's no sense in us responding to them letters because it's not our problem. And the results from our testing will continue to go to the county for them to review.
yeah, and our test confirmed that.
Our test
Fine,
confirmed
yeah.
it's not our problem.
I've been sending you everything.
Yeah.
And
And
John.
they know this because as soon as they see an increase of their testing, like last week, I guess, they had a power outage. So during that power outage, the county could tell that we had an issue with our system because the numbers went up.
And Moon is contacting them when there is an issue like that. So
And,
they're,
yeah. So
you know,
Muda
we're
Basin's been very
fully disclosed on everything. So
fully disclosing everything that takes place at our plants. If there's an issue, they're letting county know. So we're doing everything we need to do, but we keep receiving the letters like we're doing something wrong. We truly are not doing anything
Do
wrong.
they just not like us?
It's
possible. I mean,
Okay.
just
It's a reasonable conclusion.
I think it goes bigger than that, but I won't get into it
All right.
because of the other places that this comes from.
I did direct the engineer to write a letter asking them kindly to stop referencing us. I don't know if he's been able to do that yet. He has mentioned to me that he is working on it, so I'll follow up with him about that. I think that's the most we can do about it. Otherwise, like you said, we'll just have to continue to disregard their letters. But yeah, thank you.
No problem.
Anything else?
Oh, that's it. Thank you.
Councilman Courtney.
A couple quick things. Tom, I piggybacked on some of Tom's stuff that we got at the Moon meeting last night. I want to thank the Chester PBA for the phenomenal job they did with the Easter egg hunt. They had to move it one day. And then we're talking to the officers. They filled 6,000 of those plastic eggs with candy. And I think in 9 minutes it was gone. I think it's a record.
Well, last year was less than a minute.
It was less than what?
It
1
was
minute.
less than 1 minute last
Real-
year.
Was it?
This year was a little bit longer because it was a little less people and a lot less people and it was a little more wet and muddy.
And then I did attend, I was invited by ShopRite Supermarkets to attend. Lily Fernandez is the young girl that has leukemia, and the Make-A-Wish Foundation granted her wish. So they had it was bigger than I thought it was going to be at ShopRite last Sunday. There had to be, 10, 12 pieces of fire equipment, Chief, right? I don't know. I wouldn't even begin to tell how many officers were outside that they family walked through and up to the area, into the promo area. And she was really surprised. The whole family's going to Disney World in 2 weeks. So it really is
Awesome.
to watch your family go through that and to have that happen. It's just, it's great stuff. So, and then also the supervisor and I, because ShopRite is a good business partner for us in the community. I know they help the PBA out, both town and village, the Kiwanis. I believe a little bit here on things in the past that we've done in the town. So myself and the supervisor recognize ShopRite for their community involvement. And that's really basically all I have.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank the town clerk, Linda Zapala, for putting together the proclamation to recognize ShopRite on that, and Linda and I also attended the Make a
That's
Wish
right. Sorry,
Foundation.
I forgot about you.
It was a really wonderful event, and I'm very happy for Lily and her family. It was great to see the faces
Absolutely.
when all that went down. And again, thank you to all the not just Chester Emergency Services, but multiple emergency services from around the county came to support Lily, and of course, not just the emergency services, but the community at large. There had to be at least 1,000 people there. Probably not all from Chester that came out to be there and be joyous with Lily.
And
So,
Jeff came too from the community.
yes, that's
foundation.
right. That's right.
Yep, was.
All right, yeah. That's that. Councilman Artisano?
Sure. Last night, we had the Chester Fire Improvement Bond, and unfortunately, it was a little embarrassing because only 247 people got out to vote. Now, what's going on? If you want to do something with the county, with the town, and change it, you got to get out to vote. This is an election year, and if there's complaints, get out to vote. That's all I got to say.
But in good news, it passed.
It passed.
Yeah. Yes, it passed overwhelmingly. I think it was like 180 to 50
180
or
to
something.
59.
186 to 46.
Yeah.
49.
So, per capita, a very good ratio for the fire department. And like I said in my various Facebook posts, they absolutely deserve that to go through. They desperately need those capital improvements for their facilities, especially at Trout Brook, but also it wasn't just about Trout Brook. It was across the entire town. So thank you to everybody who went out and voted, and I'm happy that it passed.
And I think with that, a lot of concerns for people that didn't vote for that or just had concerns to begin with were the future cost and increase in tax. I think that's where we come in this year budget time to do our due diligence and try to, along with everything else that Neil spoke to, let's try to curb our spending and try to reduce our tax rate in any way we can this year and next year to help benefit the upgrades to these for the firemen.
Yeah, I'm going to put my plans for a town ice rink on hold. That was in the works, but can't make it happen this year. But no, in all seriousness,
that might be something that could take place in house also.
yeah. No, I mean it was a joke.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I understand. I was joking. It was a Parks and Rec reference. If anybody watched that show.
I think, with the new firehouse, that's an investment into our community.
Mhm.
That's a long-term investment and very worthwhile. And especially since they're all volunteers.
It promotes
Yeah.
more people coming in. That's
Yeah.
that's what it's all about.
And that's, I think, and I'm happy that so many highlighted it on Facebook that I saw. Was what gets lost in the translation of all of it is that these people are volunteers. They literally put their lives on the line for our lives and our homes, and they're doing it for free. So, I just find it very troubling that some people, come after them and when they ask for something, they're only ever asking for it when it's absolutely necessary.
And they volunteered.
They volunteered.
Tremendous amount of their time to put this project together and bring it to the public with multiple open houses to, give people an opportunity to see what they're going to do and how it's going to be done and the reason for it to be done. So
And the
they
outreach.
did their due diligence.
The outreach is never going to be absolutely positively perfect in terms of spoon feeding you the actual information. But I do know that they tried their best. I do know that they posted the open houses. I know they posted about the vote. I know that they put it in the paper, all the different things and all that. They can only do so much. And for those of you who may have said, why didn't a mailer go out or a letter? It costs your tax dollars to put those stuff out. So they would just be spending more money to put all that out.
And I think,
So, that's something to keep in mind. I'm not saying that it can't be done. I'm saying that's something that probably goes through the minds of the fire commissioners when they decide whether or not that something like that should happen.
and just to piggyback on that, they're talking about community involvement. They are also, when the Kiwanis does their 5K, the fire police are out there. The volunteers are out there helping. I mean, there's numerous events that they're out there
The fireworks.
supporting our community. So, I mean, it's you know, it was well needed. If you've seen the pictures up on social media of Trout Brook, I mean, the place is falling apart. And I believe I read that building was supposed to be temporary, Dan. That was supposed to be a permanent building. That was built in 1978, I think, right?
No, it was
So-
built as a temporary building.
September.
It was in 76. I
Temporary. It was
think.
temporary, but I thought it was in 78. It was done back in 78. I thought.
Yeah, I think, you know, what has always amazed me is the dedication of the fire department volunteers. It's unbelievable, their dedication.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Are there any other more reports or announcements?
One other thing, completely unrelated to my role as town attorney. This past weekend, the Chester Elementary School competed at the state competition for Odyssey of the Mind. They placed 6th out of 18 teams, which is
Wow.
placing, which is really great. So congratulations to the Chester Elementary School, and it's a lot of work, Odyssey of the Mind. So good on them.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate you giving that. And how's your daughter doing in the Odyssey of Mind?
I have 2 daughters in Odyssey of the Mind, and they're both going to the world competition in
Wow.
May.
Very nice. Congratulations.
Congratulations, Mom.
All right. If that's it, we will move on to regular business.
Do you want to mention the taxes that you
Sure.
collected this month?
We collected $62,777.43 in taxes in the town of Chester. Those were 3 sevens in a row, so hopeful that means something good for us. All right. The town for the April 8th abstract paid $206,225.61. Thank you to the comptroller for getting that out. All right, discussion on the comptroller local law. Liz, do you want to start us off with this?
Sure. Typically, most of the financial duties are typically held by actually the town supervisor under town law. The town law does provide or have provisions that you can assign those roles to a comptroller to provide for the accounting provisions. You've previously done that under the prior administration. The position of comptroller was created. There's some additional duties which can be assigned to the comptroller through the use of a local law. So I have drafted a local law that we're not introducing tonight, but I did want to just get your input before, and my intention is to take that input, we'll put it in final form and introduce at the next meeting. So specifically, the specific duties, the comptroller shall, one, and so some of these are, just to be clear, some of these are in addition to, repeats of what he's already authorized to do. We're just making it abundantly clear. 1, audit, allow, or reject all accounts, charges, claims, or demands against the town or improvement districts thereof. 2, examine, audit, and certify the accounts and receipts of town officers. 3, make provisions for preparing and publishing or posting lists of all such accounts, charges, claims, or demands after the audit or rejection thereof. Undertake the powers conferred and duties imposed upon the town board by sections 284 and 285 of the highway law. 5, keep separate appropriation accounts to prevent funds or appropriation accounts from being overdrawn. Furnish the town supervisor and town board such information and data as the supervisor and town board may require for the purposes of enabling them to exercise their powers and perform their duties or make reports as required by law. Submit to the town clerk within 90 days after the close of the fiscal year a copy of the report to the state comptroller required by section 30 of the general municipal law. Render to the town board a detailed listing of all monies of the town of Chester dispersed for such month and file a copy with the town clerk. Performing accounting duties of the town supervisor is set forth in town law 125, including the keeping of separate appropriation accounts, preventing funds or appropriation accounts from being overwithdrawn, the drawing upon funds or appropriation, provided the counter signature of the supervisor shall be required. And then this was one of the questions, countersign all checks required to be signed by the supervisor. Be directly responsible for securing and cooperation of all units of town government involved in the proper administration and enforcement of various financial procedures and regulations. Supervise and direct the financial administration staff. Coordinate financial activities with various town departments and other governmental units and keep the above informed of the financial condition of the town. Utilize the technical and professional expertise to the maximum efficiency in all financial areas of the town government. Expedite processing of all claims against the town. Maximize profits on investments and generally help to reduce the cost to taxpayers of town government. And then assist the supervisor in performing the duties of budget officer as set forth in Town Law 1032. The one authorization that Mr. Meyer has asked for specifically is the comptroller may transfer sums not exceeding $3,500 from one budget line to another budget line within the same department without prior approval of the town board, but upon written notice to the supervisor. So if
And that is the 0.4 lines that we wanted to, yeah, okay.
So that's so if he needs to expend money and if the budget line doesn't have it and it's de minimis, if it's bigger, he has to come to the board. Right now you get these little, we need to transfer $20, we need to transfer $100, that kind of thing.
So it's inner
Within the department line.
department line.
So he can't transfer from
One
parks
department to
to
another.
DP, he can't transfer from parks to highway.
Right.
For the
It's-
water department, you could just transfer from one to the
Yes.
other, that's it.
Correct.
And it wouldn't happen obviously without my notice. And go ahead.
Okay, it also sets forth the qualifications, required education. The term of the comptroller is a two-year term. Okay. This local law also authorizes, it confirms the authority of the town board to appoint a deputy comptroller that we do have, and they shall serve under the general supervision of the comptroller. And then I have that they'll meet the minimum qualifications for civil service position.
Would this be something added to our handbook? Or-
No, this would be codified in your code.
Okay,
So this is not, this is above and beyond your
Right.
handbook.
okay.
I think there's a lot of good in here. I think there's some things to be debated and discussed.
I'd like to review that.
Yeah,
Okay, so I will circulate this. My big question was counter signature on checks. Right now, one of you signs them.
I do.
He signs or I sign.
Mhm.
Do you want
Yes.
a counter signature? You can also set a threshold counter signature on checks in excess of
Absolutely.
such and such.
I think it probably could be, yeah,
Yeah.
please. I was gonna ask.
Neil
her
and I
afterwards.
had a debate about this and
Yeah.
I said it's up to the
I
board.
don't know that he wants that responsibility.
Yeah, I was gonna say over a limit.
I'm not really sure we need that at this time. We have very good controls within the department that we've implemented. With the positive pay in terms of check fraud going through the banks. The other thing that we do is, I audit all the warrants. We make sure that the warrants that we put together, agrees with the checks that are printed. The supervisor signs all the checks. Once those checks are given back to us to have to put in envelopes, the deputy puts them in the envelopes and she matches those checks with the purchase orders that are sent out. So the whole point of countersigning a check is to ensure that checks don't slip by or that the supervisor doesn't sign a check that he shouldn't be signing. At the end of the day, I can't see that happening with the way that we're currently operating the department. As I said, for every check that gets sent out, the check gets placed with the purchase order that we have. So there is no check that leaves the accounting office or the supervisor's office that doesn't have a corresponding purchase order and that hasn't made it onto the warrants that you guys review. Okay, that doesn't happen.
I would also probably concur with this, just being a supervisor who actually works full time and who is there every day to see it all go down and be a part of the process. I'm not sure if it's necessary personally. I would say if the board felt compelled to do it, I would only do it over a certain amount, just so it doesn't make it so complicated for every single check that goes out. Some of these checks are going out, which are less than $1 sometimes. But I personally don't think it's necessary. That's my 2 cents. I'm only one vote on this board.
I'm also auditing your warrants, and then signing a check would be basically a conflicting duty in terms of internal controls. And that's the one reason why I would say no to it. But obviously it would be up to the board. I would agree with the supervisor. If you wanted me to countersign a check, I would state an amount that you'd want it to be
My outlook
over.
on it, I don't think we've had an issue. If he can't sign checks, I've made myself available, so I don't see it being an issue. And I'd rather not put you in that position of you signing checks. It's just not a place to be.
What?
His signature would be in addition.
It would be a double,
not in
it would
lieu.
be a double, it would be a double.
Oh, in
signature.
addition.
Yeah.
And we would also then have to, get admins to change how they print the checks. And there would be actually a couple of steps that might be extra to add the extra signature line to the checks, which
What is the purpose of having dual signatures?
To do,
More controls.
it's just a further control. It's, again, it's a business decision for the board. It was one of those that while I was doing this, it's one of the authorities you can grant or require. If you are comfortable with the controls, it's not a you must do this.
Yeah.
It's a you can do this.
if you had a larger department, I mean, for example, if you were in the county
Yeah.
and you were managing something the county size, you might want that only because of the volume of checks that you have,
Because
right?
that's your processing, you could sign.
Right. The supervisor also is given the warrants and the checks so that he can match up. He's given the check register so that he can match up. So we've put in place controls that the supervisor reviews. I will be putting together some policies related to that and some procedures that you guys can review and approve now that we have a lot of these things in place. And I think we're fairly operating, fairly regularly now, right? This summer I should have the time to, put some of those procedures in place and policies in place where you guys can actually review how things are operating in the department. How they're operating, and that way that you wouldn't have a question as to whether we have the controls in place that are necessary.
Isn't this sort of moot if you go to the online payment?
It would be.
Yeah.
I think
We're
there's-
working on that though.
Yeah.
It's still, it's
I
still
know
some
about
way.
the online payment.
Yeah.
Do we have a consensus that we
I
are
can strike it.
against the
I
countersigning?
can take those out, but
Yeah.
the biggest sum that and Neil's already seen this, the offer, the biggest issue was the transfers of small sums of money from one line item to another item within the same department without.
I don't see that
waiting.
I don't have a problem with that.
I think that's good.
So I will,
Because the money's not going in, it's just being transferred to pay a bill from that line.
I mean, it's basically, if you have, because we've had a couple of things where, say somebody expends their cell phone line, and, I could take it from a supply line and move it to a cell phone line within within your same 0.4 budget account, it's not going to change the budget of any given department is essentially
point
what
is
it
This
to
comes
will
get
be
down
something
to.
that the department head would be aware of also.
Yes.
Well,
I
yeah,
mean,
they-
well, they would be,
That the problem was,
that's
They
where it's
overspend.
coming from is the departments, because with the new requisition system, the department is now processing their own requisitions and their own purchase orders. So
that's where they shouldn't be
they
overrunning.
they can't over encumber in a line. So what happens is when they get to the point where they've used up a line, they have to contact me.
Okay.
Okay. And then in which case, then I have to,
That's where the transfer would come.
that's where the transfer would come in, and it just makes it easier to get the bills paid and ensure that we are maintaining our general ledger to the best of our ability, right? This is for budgeting purposes, right? You want to know if an expense line, say cell phones, I'll give it again, right? That all the expenses in that line are cell phones, that the cell phones expenses aren't being put to another line,
Yeah.
right? And I've already kind of started seeing that happen. I mean, you have a couple of budget amendments in front of you where some of the lines have already been used up because, we expanded our budget this year and we kind of knew that this was going to happen. So the idea being I can move from one line to another versus what you guys are going to do tonight, which is vote on these
Individual-
budgetary
individual
moves,
changes.
right? And again, I don't want you guys have to do this all year. It's simple. It's within the same department. It's easy to do.
So that's something we'll see a report on anyway.
Well, you'll see it in your budget to actual
Yeah.
reports. You'll see, exactly that you're not over encumbered on the line. This is to keep us from being over encumbered on our lines and to make sure that our bills are getting paid and that we're not changing the budgets within a given department.
Very good.
We're all good on that?
Yes.
So I'll have that for next meeting's introduction.
Very good.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. All right, the water department listing device, everybody got the email on that with
Yes.
the three prices? He is suggesting we go with Eastcom. This would be a resolution not to accept the purchase, but allocate the money for it. So
Just come to something they didn't have budgeted, so they'd like to
Yes.
have they're replacing a unit that stopped working.
So basically, the motion would read to direct the comptroller to appropriate $4,000 from fund balance for the respective water funds in accordance with the appropriate allocation for the Eastcom listening device for $4,000. Are there any comments or debate points on this?
No.
No.
Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Supervisor Holdridge,
Aye.
Councilmember Ardisana,
Aye.
Councilmember Becker,
Aye.
Councilmember Courtney.
Aye.
Councilmember Dysinger,
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. All right. For Robert Smith, so with the film situation going on over at the Performing Arts Center, it seems as though the film company is spending just a little bit more time than they had previously communicated to us regarding the everyday at the Performing Arts Center. So it was brought to my attention that we could, without breaking any state, workers' law regarding our part-time employee here, to designate him as a full-time employee temporarily for up to a 90-day period. If we want to go that more, I bet that the film isn't going to be going that far. In order to cut back on, the time that it would take for the existing employees to be there, and the overtime that may come with those existing employees having to staff the building, for 10 to 13 hours a day. So with that being said, I wanted to bring it to the board's attention. I did speak with Robert Smith about this. He said that he's willing to start temporarily full-time tomorrow if we so choose. But I just wanted to bring it to the board as, a possible resolution tonight to name him a temporary full-time employee for a short time while we have this film going on.
Okay, where I have concerns with this, I thought my past experience was that the original time frame that they were going to utilize this building was 5 days a week for 10 hours.
Yes.
Now we're at 7 days a week for 12 hours. And now we're going to pay somebody to be in the building for, why are they not covering this
Well,
cost?
that's the second part to this. So the first thing I would say to that is designating Robert Smith as a temporary full-time employee would prevent actual overtime costs.
But it's
So
still an
it-
additional cost.
Oh no, I understand, and I understand with that, but it's less so
Yeah, than
comparatively to
yeah,
overtime.
Absolutely.
So that's my goal there. The second thing is, I did speak to Liz about your point this morning about the fact that, we are now doing more. We are having to staff more than we initially had thought and agreed to. That's something that I would like to reach out to the film company about, to see if they would be, willing to,
I think it's,
to cover the costs
I
of,
think
of
it should
that.
be strongly emphasized to them
Yeah.
to cover it, because they were also given the option to come in earlier to do things that they needed to get done prior to the date of this contract even. So they've already gotten more than they've
Yeah.
been paying for. So even though they brought their price up, we possibly could have made more money on this if we known that they were going to increase their hours.
I did advise the supervisor, there is a provision in there for police coverage that does set an hourly rate. If it's a matter of coverage for the building, we can speak to the film company and advise them that based on the number of hours that they're there, we're gonna need to, chief, don't shoot the messenger. We'll need to station an officer. We'll need to,
Well,
and not that I want an officer doing that, but there is a provision to provide for an
okay, well, with
officer.
that provision being there, if they either want to cover the cost of a police
That's
officer being
what
there, or they want to cover the cost of an employee being there.
Or reduce their hours. or
That's
adjust,
my
or
outlook.
adjust their
I
schedule.
mean, the rest of the board, that's my outlook, you know.
Yeah.
The idea for the $45,000 for a month of usage was for us to make 45,000. We're not going to make 45,000 if we're going to pay overtime or somebody to be there.
So with that being said, are we comfortable tonight designating him as a temporary full-time employee while I go to the company tomorrow? Regardless,
Yeah.
I think it's better, as I said earlier, to have him as a temporary full-time employee to cover some of the hours, and that will both alleviate.
Yeah, that'll take pressure off of our
The other
other
employees.
employees
Yeah.
if he's willing to do it. I have
And it
no
will
problem
save-
doing that, subject to them covering the cost.
And even his overtime would be cheaper than the full-time.
Subject to.
So, yes,
Okay.
good.
How would we? So, I think motion would read that we would designate Robert Smith as a temporary full-time employee, not to exceed 90 days, and
And that's limited to 40 hours a week? Or what's the number of hours he can work in a week?
no, it's not. It doesn't work like that. He can work more, but obviously we would like to keep him under 40. But this would be outside of his part-time
Okay.
designation. So it wouldn't. This basically the added benefit of this is that this kind of plucks him out of the part-time designation, which allows it so any hours that he's working as a full-time employee temporarily does not go towards the yearly cap that a
Okay.
part-time employee needs to follow, right?
It does go towards the cap, but it just allows him more hours during that period of time if you want to utilize it.
Okay, well,
And-
I misunderstood,
but again,
that's still
it-
beneficial.
Again, I think we need to set the hours, because if he exceeds a certain amount of hours, whether it be 35 or 40, it's going to mandate that he get overtime also. So if
Well-
we're going to set him at 40 hours, he works 42 hours, you're going to give him 2 hours of overtime.
We would, the whole point of this would be so he would not have to work more
Well,
than
that's why we
40
have to
hours.
set the hours
Yeah.
that he's going to work.
Well, it would be as simple as me directing Walt to schedule accordingly.
Okay.
It will all around, I think, be beneficial.
We can see a
just so
copy
they
of the schedule for
understand,
the month,
that's all.
So we know that there's nothing slips through the cracks.
Got
But
it.
would he be a 35-hour-a-week employee
Or
or a
40.
40.
40-hour?
I would say it's going to be a
Because you
40.
have
Yeah.
two categories.
He's a handbook employee, I think handbook employees part-time is 40 hours.
Full-time?
Yes.
40 hours, yeah.
Okay.
All right. So I would say to motion to temporarily designate Robert Smith as a full-time employee, not to exceed 90 days and not to exceed 40 hours a week, starting tomorrow.
Temporary.
That's what I said.
Yeah.
That's what it said.
I said temporarily.
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Roll call vote, please.
Supervisor Holdridge.
Aye.
Councilmember Ardisana.
Aye.
Councilmember Becker.
Aye.
Councilmember Courtney.
Aye.
Councilmember Dysinger.
Aye.
So the next thing I will do is reach out to Walt to tell him to schedule accordingly. And tomorrow morning, I will reach out to the film company to pressure them to give us more money.
Well, I think the way you do it is they're subject to, I mean, I'm sure the police officer would love to put some overtime in. So either they're going to have a police officer there or they're going to have somebody that's less expensive. So that's their two options. It's not asking them, it's
Yeah.
telling them.
Police
Right.
officers, $100
I did say
an hour.
pressure, so.
No pressure, just tell them.
I will kindly pressure.
Contract has $100 an hour for the police officer. If police officer services were needed.
Yeah, so they're getting this a lot cheaper, so they got two options, one or the other.
Want to go back to work and what we agreed upon. 8 hours, 5 days a week.
10 hours.
Is that what it was?
Yeah. All right.
10 hours,
Can't
5
change
days
the
a week.
rules midway.
What are they doing now, 12 hours?
12, 13 hours or something like that.
7 days.
Yeah.
7 days?
I don't think it was 5 days a week. I think but off the top of my head.
Unclear.
Yeah, library plumbing repair. I think we can table this. Basically, there is a plumbing situation in the library. The deputy supervisor, myself, and the engineer will be going back to the library again on Friday to figure out how we can better handle this situation over there. So we have the most cost efficient. But besides that, I don't think unless there's any questions for us about it.
The only thing in the email I had sent is what's our lease agreement?
We did get that all figured out, and we do have owner. I mean, obviously, we own the building, and yes, we are responsible for something like this. And I did also explore, in terms of the insurance thing. This isn't something that insurance would necessarily cover. So this is something that we have to handle ourselves.
We just got to do it the most cost-effective way.
Yes, seconded. So with that being said, are there any other comments or questions on this?
No.
None. All right, so we will move on. All right, PD surplus. All right, I believe this was sent out to everybody. The police chief is requesting permission to sell 2 surplus vehicles through propertyroom.com, the auction site. It is the 2009 Chevrolet Impala, which has 122,318 miles on it, and then the 2021 Ford Police Interceptor utility. I'm sorry. That vehicle has 136,248 miles on it. Are there any questions or debate points on this?
No.
Seeing none, is there a motion
I'll make the motion.
to allow the police department to sell as surplus?
Yes.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Just make your motion subject to, because we'll receive the bid, that you have the right to reject the bid on the certain sale. So if somebody bids $1, you can say no.
So what would it read as?
Reserves you the right to.
Wait, the police department is authorized to sell those 2 pieces of equipment as surplus. The town board has the right to reject the bid.
There's a motion? I will offer that amendment to the motion. Is there a second to my amendment?
I'll second.
All right. All those in favor on the amendment?
Aye.
Aye. All those in favor on the motion, the motion as a whole? Aye.
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 All right. All right. Dory Gilbert is requesting to host a clothing drive on May 3rd at Carpenter Community Park. This happens basically every year. Obviously, they are going to provide the insurance. Have they already provided the insurance, Michelle?
I don't know.
No, I don't think they have.
Think so.
This is a
Yeah.
fundraiser for the all-night party again?
Yes, for the all-night senior party. Yes. So with that being said, do I hear a motion to accept or authorize the request pending the
Insurance.
insurance?
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, resolution to appoint Chris Steers to the planning board. This is a recommendation coming straight from the planning board, and I believe Councilman Dysinger and I are on board with this as well. He was well-spoken. Everybody here received his resume. We did speak to everybody up here about our time with Chris, I believe. I believe he's possibly even overqualified for the position. I'm ready to move forward with this appointment. Are there any questions or debate points?
No, I concur.
Anything that you'd like to add, Larry? Or
No, I think he's going to be a good asset for the planning board.
Yeah.
He has a lot of background and will be able to step right in and be able to contribute.
we all good? All right. I would like to offer the motion to appoint Chris.
Second.
There is a second by Councilman Dysinger. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, budget modifications.
Read each one.
You can say as presented.
Yes, so the budget modifications.
You can say as presented.
Yes, I understand. So there are various for the general fund, part town fund, highway town-wide fund, and four of the water. No, it is all five of the water districts. This was provided to the public, obviously, in the supporting documents online. If you'd like to review it afterwards, you can. But the town board has also seen this. Are there any comments or questions about it?
No, I'm good.
No,
Is there a motion to accept the budget amendments as presented?
I'll make the motion.
Is there a
Second.
second? Roll call vote, please.
Supervisor Holdridge,
Aye.
Councilmember Ardisana,
Aye.
Councilmember Becker,
Aye.
Councilmember Courtney,
Aye.
Councilmember Dysinger,
aye.
Passes unanimously. The Justice Courts education request. We have a request to send Patricia and Arlene to the impaired driving seminar in Glen Falls from May 14th to May 15th. There is no registration or out-of-pocket lodging costs. So I imagine that the only cost would be the mileage, correct?
Just exactly what is this?
Yeah.
We just got an email, a letter asking for this request, but there's no information on what this impaired driving seminar is going to teach them or what the purpose of it is.
I do not know.
I would think it'd be something for the police officers, but, they need to understand what,
Probably,
is it
I
overnight?
don't want to speak because but it's
Yeah.
when there are
So it's hotel.
DUIs, DWIs, there's a fair amount of paperwork and processing and.
Okay.
sus-
So it's doing the
suspended
paperwork, so it's how to
suspended
do the paperwork
licenses, all that.
properly, so it
Yes.
goes through the proper channels to,
yeah, if that's what it is, teach them how to handle paperwork, I have no issue. It was just,
just trying to
98%
understand.
sure
I
that's
wish
what-
more information would have came with this. So
Yeah.
like
Well-
anytime we get
The board, I mean, it's not until May 14th and 15th. So if a board member would like to hold off on approving this until the April 23rd meeting and ask them more information, then,
I would just like to see the flyer or whatever to understand what it's for.
or
Most time
do we want to approve it pending
Approve the
that?
subject too.
Subject
Yes.
to more information?
Yes.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve this education request, subject to more information being provided as to the details?
Like the motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
There's a lot of paperwork when there's a.
Yeah, I'm trying to understand it. That's all.
if that's
says
what
no
it is,
out-of-pocket
no
costs.
issue.
Oh, okay, sorry. I didn't see that. Yep, I need that. Can I wear them on top of my?
All right, is there a motion to head into executive unless, is there any new business that we can take care of before the executive session? Because I do not foresee any new business coming out of executive session.
Yeah, maybe you wanted to.
You do
comment.
public comment.
Well, is there any new business?
The only thing, consideration I'd like the board, we still have not finalized a fee schedule for the Sugarloaf Performing Arts Center.
I have an update. We received we received comments and suggested edits from our promoter. I sent those off to the Slack Advisory Board. I should have already, if not, I will send those
I
off
know
to.
this keeps circling around.
No.
But,
We will have this passed by April 23rd is what I'm trying to say, that we are at the end now and
But
I
we
will have
haven't
it
seen
on.
it. I mean, my outlook on this is we have a fee schedule now. Let's roll with what we have. Add $1 for the dance studios as a fee for tickets. Keep the $3 as it is with our other, and as far as free or other things coming, as things come in right now, people want a reduction, any type of cost. It comes before the board. That's the process. I'd like to see it stay. I don't want to see any favoritism given to any area or place in regards to the use of the Sugarloaf Performing Arts Center.
I understand. I'm going to have a agenda item on the April 23rd meeting to discuss and finalize all of this.
Okay.
So
Can we see
we are-
this ahead of time so we have
Yes,
a chance to comment?
I should have sent it to you already, but if I didn't, I'll send it again tonight to the rest of the board. So everybody
Yeah, I
has,
haven't seen anything, so
I just received it. So I'm going to send it out.
I just want to make sure we get it done because we can't leave the dance. We can't have the two people that bring us the most amount of money to this theater be in discrepancy with one paying $3 and one paying nothing. And, it's just unfair
Well, that was-
to those two people, and it needs to be taken care of.
Understood. We will have it all finalized on April 23rd,
Okay, thank
and
you.
everybody will have ample time to look at everything.
I have just one quick thing, just, as I mentioned, I think in an email, I'd like to make sure that the ethics board submit a monthly report for every month.
We
Even
spoke-
if they don't meet, but submit just saying that we haven't met or whatever, so.
Yes, Deputy Supervisor Becker and I spoke to the ethics chairman. They haven't met in 2025, but he's going to be sending a report about 2024 to the town board
Now,
when he
we,
gets
Well,
a chance.
it should also be, for the first 3 months of this year, just saying, did not meet, whatever. I just
Yeah,
want them to report every month.
okay.
I think, again, the reference I had to that is this board we have to do our job for the ethics board because we haven't found
There's
the two open positions. They can't meet because they don't have them two
Right.
open positions. So it
We did
falls
put-
on us to make sure that we get somebody for coverage on
We
it.
did put out a notice earlier in the year. We can always put out another notice. I have actively been trying to find and somebody to
'Cause
fill those
right now, we need
positions.
two Republican members for the ethics board.
Well, they don't have to, just to be clear,
Okay.
they don't have to be Republican. Again, you're
They could
limited.
be-
You
okay.
can have
They
up
could
to
be
two
independent.
Democrats, 2 Republicans. You can have 5 blanks.
Okay.
Okay, but
So,
So
they-
that needs to
so
be
you
an
can't have-
understanding
yeah,
that
so
that's
like-
out there.
so look at your current makeup. So if somebody is an unaffiliated,
I
independent
think
doesn't
you have 2
exist, but-
Democrats right now.
And one blank.
And one blank, so.
So you
the
could
thought
have
was-
2 Republicans, you could have 2 more blanks, you could have somebody on the Conservative Party. So it doesn't
Yeah.
necessarily have to be 2 Republicans.
I would just like to have it filled.
Yeah, I just
So
want to
they
be
can-
clear so you're not
No.
making your pool even smaller. You can
No,
make your pool
perfect.
a little bigger.
Oh,
Understood.
that's what we have to look for then.
Yes.
That's
So
the way
you
we have to,
cannot-
that's why
Right,
we have to
can't
put it out
another
through an
Democrat, but
approach.
you can put members of other parties. If somebody's working families, they could be on it as well.
Yep, got it.
We just need to get that board filled, so if
Yep.
something does come up, they're able to do the work that they've been asked to do from us.
Okay.
Well, if I may just, Larry had such a great little ad that he did, and then I copied it, and we did, I think twice we got some good response to that. And those 2 times we posted in the Chronicle. So if the board wants to try that, if you direct me to do that, we can.
Yeah.
put
Yeah,
that
that
out.
wouldn't hurt.
Yeah, I think anything we could do to get that board, maybe they have nothing before them. We don't know that because, they can't meet if there is something that they have to work on now.
Is there a motion to direct the clerk to post something in the Chronicle,
Make a motion.
a notice in the Chronicle? There's a motion, a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Very good.
Mr. Supervisor, a couple meetings ago, we had indicated that we would try to schedule a work session for the 3rd Wednesday.
Yes.
And if we didn't have things, we would cancel them. If possible, I'd like to utilize our work session next week.
We are definitely having one
Yes.
next week.
Okay, that's it too.
Why do you need it?
I'd like to comp plan zoning.
Okay, there are other things on the agenda already, but we can add that
Okay.
to it.
I'll take a look at the agenda and I'll tailor my requests and get as,
How many hours?
Comp
this
plan
work
is
session
important.
gonna be?
no, then I'll ask very
No,
tailored
I-
questions to
no.
fill the time. I won't.
No, it's an important thing to discuss. We
No,
need to get that going.
We have a lot of it.
I have been emailing you in dribs and drabs
Yeah.
pieces so that because if I give you 180 pages, you'll all kill me.
Yeah.
Right now, on the agenda for next week, we have the discussion on the sick leave policy. We have discussion on the stop signs. I'd like to put a bow on that in Surrey Meadows. I know too that I want one removed and I want one added. Those are my priorities. And then we have a discussion on some new proposed changes from Councilman Dysinger for the
handbook.
employee handbook. Those are the 3 things we have on the agenda. So I imagine those 3 things, besides the sick leave policy, won't take too long, but you never know. I think there's plenty of time to add in a conversation about the comprehensive plan in there.
Yeah. what I'll do is I'll pick discrete topics so that we're not.
Okay.
And
And you may
Yeah.
wind up with the topic of the
Mhm.
True Performing
Yeah.
Arts Center, the fee
Just
fee
set.
schedule too.
They're
You're
always
thinking
2
about that for the
o'clock.
23rd, that might have to be
Yeah.
on that agenda.
Possibly, yes. All right.
Okay.
Are there any other new business?
No.
Is there any other new business? With that being said, is there a motion to move up public
Well, do you
comment?
want to do public comment?
Is there a motion to move up public comment? Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Please give me public comment.
Sorry. Oh, Dylan.
Do you have something? You want to say
Yes.
something? Yeah.
Dylan Skrilloff. I was just curious, where is that 17M bridge you always talk about, the one that's getting fixed?
So when you are if you're on Kings Highway and then you get to the intersection where you can turn left into Chester or right towards Monroe or straight towards Lehigh or diagonal towards Lehigh, that's the intersection. If you're turning left, the bridge right there.
The Lehigh and 17.
Going towards
Kings
the
Highway.
village
Railroad
of Chester,
Bridge.
going towards the Cumberland Farms there.
Bridge
gas
that has
Okay.
all potholes on it.
Yeah.
I cross
Well,
that
not
bridge
anymore.
every day.
Yes.
I just want to make sure I had this right. You're having an open house May 6th, 6 to 8
On
at the
the
senior center about the Route
Intersect-
17 I-86.
yes, that
Yes.
project along with the intersection that I just described to you, not the bridge. The bridge is going to have a separate open house at another date. But-
They're considering upgrades to that intersection.
Yes.
Okay.
No, they've committed to upgrades in that intersection.
Consider.
They are not
Do it.
considering, they have committed. So that is going to happen.
All right, I'm done. Thank you.
No problem. Are there any other comments in person? Are there any online?
Yes, Ed Mullen. What is the average response time for ALS calls? What is the longest ALS response time? Are the addition of transports in BLS watered down or bolstering response time statistics? ALS response time should be the main measure.
Yeah, so if you want the full details, it is all available for you online. I'm not sure if the answers to your questions are here in this report, but you can certainly look. If not, I will try to I'll try to get that information for you. But I do know for one of your questions, they do break down the differences in the response times between the dedicated unit and then additional units, and then they do a grand total so you can see what is, quote, being watered down and what's not. But they split that out so so you know that you can see the total average and the dedicated average. So as I stated earlier, the dedicated average for the unit that is dedicated in Chester is 7 minutes and 22 seconds in the month of March. The 4 times that the additional units were necessary, the average response time for that was 15 minutes and 22 seconds. So those were the 4 times that an additional unit was necessary to come in. That was the average. The total average for the month, where you combine the dedicated unit, all the times the dedicated unit responded, which again was like 95% of the time, plus the 4 additional unit times, the total average for the month is still 7 minutes and 45 seconds. So that's that. The ALS, I don't know if I don't have that information available to me. It
Well,
breaks it down by
It's all
day of
ALS.
week.
They don't separate out between ALS and BLS.
Yeah, I don't think they do.
No, because
Because the car is all ALS. So,
Yeah.
but they do separate out. They do state which calls, like they do designate the calls regardless.
yes, that's true. Yes.
Yeah.
The
So
people that we have on staff are all ALS certified.
yeah.
Yeah.
But he's asking what the response times were for the ALS calls specifically.
Well, it
Yeah.
would be the average response time.
I would agree with you, but unless we're not understanding the question. But it is all the information is available in the report that's online. Michelle?
Next one, Doug D. Ed Mullins, I completely agree with what you said. Long term, I think there should be our own municipal ambulance service, both BLS and ALS units. most of the other municipalities either already have their own service or they are creating their own service. We definitely need a dedicated ALS unit for the town. Next comment, Michael Bigg, what happened with EMS? Next one, Robert Valentine, it's irresponsible for the town board, who is the auditing authority of the town bills of the town of Chester, to allow the comptroller to unilaterally amend the budget. That is a board decision and always has been. Robert Valentine, will the ethics board be reporting on how many complaints are pending and for how long? Robert Valentine, it's the responsibility of the town attorney to imply that Republicans are not necessary on the ethics board.
So as the comptroller stated, we would not be unilaterally amending the budget. That is a false statement. Yes, the ethics board, we would like them to report on the reports that, not the reports, the complaints that they are receiving and the progress that they are making on any investigations if necessary. And the last comment, no, there's no need to clarify. She was clarifying the law. There is no implication that Republicans should not be on the ethics board, but of course that was a disingenuous statement anyway. So the town attorney is clarifying the actual letter of the law. Thank you. Are there any other comments?
I have nothing.
All right, very good. Is there a motion to head into executive session?
There'll be no further business.
There's going to be no further new business.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Is there a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.
Awesome.
All right.
Thank you, gentlemen.